the trade initially was for you to go to Milwaukee.
That was when it was like the trade happened and like, oh, by the way, that could have been you type vibe all at the same time.
But what if the Warriors did in fact trade Steph instead of Monte, landing the greatest shooter of all time in Milwaukee? But can he build a dynasty here like he did in Golden State? Well, as the Bucks only win 36 games in the season, they'd be off to a rocky start. However, as Curry begins to post career high numbers as he debuts with the Bucks, you have to wonder how much of NBA history is about to change, because there is bound to be a massive domino effect. After the Warriors dynasty will likely vanish upon Steph becoming the face of a new franchise, so the NBA is about to look very different from here on out. But one thing will remain the same.
With the 15th pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Giannis Antetokounmpo.
The Greek Freak was still landing in the hands of the Milwaukee Bucks, meaning we get to witness the possibility of a Curry and Giannis duo, which on paper sounds like an instant dynasty, but with both stars still young, it wouldn't even be enough to make the playoffs this year. But as the season ends with the Miami Heat winning the championship, the rest of the league should be very worried of this Bucks team down the line, because we start to see the first flashes of their potential the very next season, specifically with Stephen Curry, who has catapulted his scoring output to nearly the 30-point range. And with Giannis available in the pick and roll, his assist numbers would benefit greatly as well. And if it wasn't for the Bucks falling so far in the standings, he very well may have had a case for the MVP this year. But despite missing out on the personal award, progress was still being made, making it to the playoffs for the first time as a member of the Bucks. But against the DeRozan Raptors, this series wouldn't be easy. The deep Raptors have been here multiple times, and it was showing, because even with Curry playing his A game, his team still didn't have enough to get over that hump. Toronto simply had the better overall team, and even after fighting hard, they'd fall short after 7 games. And as the Pacers go on to the finals, where they'd come out on top after 6, we'd see new potential dynasties forming in the East, leading you to wonder, are the Bucks capable of building a roster that can compete in the East? Well, one thing is for sure, even as the narratives build against him, it would all boil down to what Steph can accomplish if they're going to make it to that next level. But in the meantime, he'd have some backup as Giannis begins to elevate his game another level, increasing his scoring above 20 a night. And they'd even acquire more shooting firepower, making a trade to land Bradley Beal, giving Steph this reality's version of a splash brother. And while Beal may not have been as great of a shooter as Klay would have been, the additional floor spacing would have the same effect. Curry was posting the best season of his career so far, scoring effortlessly as he amazes the world with such a high caliber of shooting, and it was starting to look like this may be the year that the Bucks make that push. It took a year long in the real life, but he is finally the MVP. What an outstanding season for Steph. And it wouldn't take long in the playoffs to justify this MVP selection, because as they faced the Cavaliers in the first round, they'd walk all over Cleveland as Steph wins the first playoff series of his entire career. But that win would be quickly overshadowed by the fact that in the second round, playing against the defending champs, the MVP would have full control over this series, on the road as the underdog, yet appearing to be the far superior team, stunning Indiana with back-to-back wins on their court, and the Bucks surely felt unstoppable. That is, until Paul George was responding on the road in Game 3 with a huge performance, only one-upped by an even more impressive showcase in Games 4 and 5, with a gut punch to Milwaukee, stopping them in their tracks as Indiana reclaims the momentum. And even though a 48-point outburst from Curry in front of his home fans was enough to push his group to the win, forcing one final Game 7, it ultimately only delayed the inevitable, as the Pacers' veteran experience shine through in a blow-up victory after clawing back in this series to win. Meaning after such an excellent MVP season, Curry's year ends short of expectations, only winning a single round even after having his best roster of his career. And the only saving grace would be that they fell to the eventual repeat champions. But losing to the champs isn't exactly a noteworthy legacy, and at some point, the Bucks would have to get past this hurdle, which again would mostly fall onto Steph's shoulders. But the thing is, he already knew that, and while some may get complacent following an MVP season, Curry wasn't. He was spending the offseason improving his game, and the results would speak for themselves. For the second year in a row, Curry was named the league's MVP, and this time around he wasn't settling for anything short of a deep playoff run. securing home court advantage through well with the first seed, and after making quick work of the first 2 rounds, he'd prepare for his deepest run yet. But who else would be in his way besides the very team who defeated him last season? Again, face to face with the defending champs, and the Pacers still had confidence that they had the better group over the Bucks. Paul George was a bona fide superstar at this point, and he was paired alongside a still all-star Dwight Howard, who in particular gave the Bucks major problems last year against a weak front court. But this time around, the Bucks had a major acquisition, adding in the vet Tyson Chandler to hold things down in the paint, which may very well have been the missing piece of the puzzle, because with the defense taken care of, the MVP would ensure Milwaukee outscores the divisional rival, and it was only a matter of time until the Bucks were coming out on top, getting their revenge, and landing not only Steph's, but also Giannis' first career finals appearance. But first, let's talk about today's sponsor, Arena Club, who is all about legit graded trading cards. If you're like me, as a kid, you loved trading cards. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, sports cards, you name it, I wanted them all. And now Arena Club brought that nostalgia back to life, giving us the opportunity to rip open into slab packs ranging from $25 to $2,500, all from the comfort of your computer or phone. I'm gonna open up a Ruby pack today, which will give me one of these listed cards, and I low-key really want this Derrick Rose card. So here we go. We're about to open it up. The excitement is here. It's bringing me back to my childhood. I'm loving Arena Club. This is exciting. Let's see what card we end up getting. Open this slap pack. No going back from here. Give me something good. Derrick Rose. Please be in there. This is a sick animation. Oh! Michael Jordan! It's not Derrick Rose, but that is the next best thing without a doubt. That is sick. As a Bulls fan, that's the card right there. So here it is in my showroom in all its glory. I can set a price to sell it, or I can auction it off. Or if you like the physical card, you can even retrieve your card to get the physical copy sent directly to you. So if you want to have as much fun as I am with Arena Club, right now you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/Allen and using code Allen. And when you do, let me know in the comments who you guys pull. I would love to hear about it and see if you got something as cool as I did. Thanks again to Arena Club for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into the NBA Finals, where they'd meet a duo also making their first appearance as members of the Los Angeles Clippers. Damian Lillard was playing his second season in LA, and he was a man with a personal mission, proving to the league that he was the better player over Curry, another star with a very similar play style, leading to easily one of the most exciting one-on-one matchups we've ever had in the finals, transitioning to a shooting league with a series primed to go the distance, which may have been the case if there wasn't another star head-to-head matchup, that being 2 high flyers, Griffin and the Greek Freak. Blake was an all-star, and his game was developed by this point, scoring in a multitude of ways, but there was a clear as day difference in the two players. Giannis was just entire leagues ahead of Griffin. It may have taken him a while to get to this point, but one thing for sure was that he was here now, and it'd be the difference maker in the series.
It's over. The Bucks have done it. The long wait has ended. After a half century, the Milwaukee Bucks are NBA champions once again.
Finally, after a long time coming, Steph is helping the Bucks bring home a championship. And as the Warriors are sitting at the bottom of the league, this victory for Steph solidifies Milwaukee making the right choice with the trade. And as the Finals MVP is awarded to Giannis, you now had 2 superstar players on one group, and only time will tell how dominant their run can be. Back in the Finals easily again the next season, after Giannis was now titled as the regular season MVP, giving Milwaukee 2 MVPs on their roster. And while they'd be up against Jokic, another player in the same echelon, at the end of the day, 2 MVPs was going to be better than only one. The Bucks easily becoming repeat champions, as seemingly overnight they've taken the entire league by storm, with nobody seeming to stand a chance. But even still, the rest of the league was shaking things up, hoping to find anything to compete with Milwaukee, like Houston adding a star guard Luka to pair with Harden, or alternatively LA building for the future, drafting Tatum to be mentored by Kobe. All the while some teams did nothing, like the Heat, who have been wasting away LeBron's prime, but that'll change soon enough. For now, however, none of that was exactly relevant, because everything still looked to be a walk in the park for the Bucks, cruising straight through the Eastern Conference with nobody getting in their way as they win the East on a mission to bring home a three-peat to Milwaukee. But the three-peat would be easier said than done, as they prepared to face their toughest opponent yet. The Phoenix Suns have quietly been building one of the strongest starting lineups in the NBA, with solid pieces throughout, but most notably was their all-star duo of Devin Booker and Joel Embiid. And while this group still had a lot of young pieces, the raw talent was still obviously there, And for the first time in a few years, a team was giving the Bucks a run for their money, catching them off guard, winning the first 2 games of the series in Milwaukee's home turf. However, as we know, this team has been through so much adversity over the years, and they were prepared for this moment. In Game 3 on the road, they start to take the first steps in digging out of this hole, but it wouldn't be that simple, because the Suns were still on fire after their motivating first 2 wins. And in Game 3, with an opportunity to put this series out of reach, it was looking like they may do just so, with a lead late in the game, and if Milwaukee doesn't do something soon, their 3P hopes would be out the window. The Bucks are down 2-0 in the NBA Finals right now and trailing in Game 3 on the road in Phoenix. At risk of going down 3-0, which would not be good. Steph Curry with the ball, though. Tyson Chandler sends the screen. Curry to pull up to take the lead. Curry gets it to go, puts the advantage back in the hands of the Bucks. There is still a lot of time left in this game, though, and with Phoenix having the ball, nothing is guaranteed. Teague with it, Danny Green on him. Danny Green has been one of the team's best defenders, and this is a huge defensive possession. They get the ball out of Teague's hand. They're going to Mike Conley with the pick and roll with Embiid. Tyson Chandler's going to have to help. Conley to pull up Jay. It's off. Giannis the board. The Bucks have it now, and there is a mismatch. Embiid with Steph on him, or you can go to Giannis in the paint with Conley on him, and it looks like they're going to Giannis, the much smarter defender. Here comes the double. Giannis forcing it over the double. Giannis gets it a go. 3-point lead. The Bucks are in the driver's seat now, up by 3. If you get a stop here, that could be huge. They're going to Julius Randle. Giannis is on him. Giannis' defense. Giannis denies the shot from Julius Randle. Bradley Beal on the break. He slows it down, gets the ball to Steph. Steph Curry with it now. 60 seconds left in this game. Conley on him. Steph to step back 3. Oh, it's off. It's off. The Suns with it now. Mike Conley has. I thought for sure Steph was hitting that shot. Conley, an easy lay, blows by Curry. Milwaukee had the chance to go up by 6 in the blink of an eye. They're only up by 1 now. Steph with it, though. Another opportunity. Getting another screen from Chandler. Curry, the pull up again. Curry, it's off again. Chandler fighting for the board, gets it. Steph now. 27 seconds left in the game. Bradley Beal. He gets it over to Giannis in the handoff. Giannis, the floater for the free throw. It's off. Giannis is put back. It's off by Embiid's block. What a defensive sequence by the Phoenix Suns. 7 second separate shot clock and game clock. The Bucks on the inbound. Chandler has the inbound. He finds Steph. The quick trigger. Bang! What a shot from Stephen Curry to give the Bucks a 4-point lead now. He makes up for the missed shots earlier. And as long as they can hang on here in this series, it's still close. Conley coming around the screen. His pull-up. Conley's off. Giannis the board. That might do it. And now that they finally tasted victory in this series, the tides were about to shift, because they weren't stopping at winning Game 3. Still on the road for Game 4, they'd repeat what was working well to knot everything back up, meaning now they were again favorites to take home the championship, and they'd use their momentum to their advantage, taking over the following 2 games as well, completing the 3-peat after a come-from-behind victory, accomplishing one of the greatest feats possible in sports. And as Giannis wins his 3rd straight Finals MVP, just getting into the swing of his prime, along with the 2-time MVP Curry playing at the same high level, there was no telling just how many they could win. Or so we thought, because the 2020 season, things were shaking up, with the 3rd option Beal leaving to join Memphis, and additionally, the front court was stripped completely after Chandler retired. But despite the team's depth dwindling, the Bucks still had arguably the 2 best players in all of basketball, with Giannis not only winning the Defensive Player of the Year, but also notably his 3rd straight MVP. And of course, they still had Steph, who may have been slightly overshadowed by the recent success of Antetokounmpo, but he was still a superstar in his own right, finishing the top 3 for MVP voting as well, as he continues to be one of the best scorers in the NBA, still putting the Bucks in position to compete for 4 straight, even after losing most of their core. But once the playoffs rolled around, the same major flaw from the regular season was sticking out like a sore thumb, as the paint defense was non-existent. The bright side, however, was the Bucks had the greatest shooter to ever touch a basketball, and of course 3 points are worth more than 2. So even with Milwaukee unable to stop a scoring onslaught down low, Curry would still keep them in arm's reach with his shooting. But as this one goes to a 7th game, it may not be enough. Orlando was swarming Steph with double teams as they were forcing other players to beat them. And with the quality around them, it was all the leeway that the Magic needed to take advantage, putting the nail in the coffin late in Game 7, and in the Bucks' run of 3 straight. I know the Bucks lost some depth, but The 2K simulation sometimes amazes me. How did they lose to this Magic team? But as this season ends with the Rockets going on to win the championship, this would only be the beginning of the Bucks Empire's collapse, because the next 3 seasons in a row would lead to first-round exits for Milwaukee. Other teams around the league were getting better, while the Bucks were stuck with unappealing contracts for a few years. And as is the NBA, the league was transitioning past one great dynasty to the next big thing. The Rockets were a perennial finals appearance for a few seasons, even if they were losing it in 2021 to the Atlanta Hawks, winning Damian Lillard a ring in this reality. But come 2022, they'd bounce right back, with Harden starting to take a back seat as Luka Doncic steps into the role as the go-to guy, winning Houston another championship. And with 2 rings in 3 seasons, they were starting to look like the next dynasty of the league. But there'd be a 1-year hiatus on that run, because 2023 was all LeBron James and the Timberwolves. After wasting so much of his career in Miami, he was finally reclaiming the throne as champions here. So as we resume our story on the Bucks, after years of Steph and Giannis playing great, yet falling incredibly short, what's next for this duo in their franchise? Well, this next free agency might change everything. These are the only 4 players on Milwaukee's payroll. Steph and Giannis, of course, and then Herb Jones and Mark Williams are both on rookie contracts. They have a ton of cap space. There's some good players in this year's free agency class. If they can get some good pieces to join, we could see the revival of the Milwaukee dynasty. The Bucks were making a splash in free agency with the biggest move of the year, signing Anthony Davis to the roster. They finally got that inside presence that they've needed so desperately over the last several years, as Anthony Davis takes home the honor as the Defensive Player of the Year. And they were building an entire defensive identity by adding Dillon Brooks, and their final offseason acquisition was Carmelo Anthony, who in this reality at 39 years old was still considered a high-level scorer. Things were finally looking up for the Bucks. Everyone was firing on all cylinders, specifically Curry, who was leading the entire group in scoring, taking full advantage of having 2 lethal inside lob threats, creating an easy game for him in the pick and roll, finally getting the Bucks back to the top of the conference. And a few weeks later, back to the top of the world, as they breezed through the playoffs with no issues, en route to winning this duo's 4th championship together, and all signs pointed towards their dynasty resurrecting. Except there was one problem in their way: LaMelo and Zach LaVine in Boston. 2025's conference finals were against the 7th seeded Celtics, which on paper should be a walk in the park, but they were playing with a chip on their shoulders, looking to make something special happen. And as one of the biggest underdogs in NBA history, the world was cheering them on as they forced a Game 7. So with everybody but their home fans against them, Milwaukee were considered the villains, and this Game 7 was sure to be a gauntlet. Luckily though, they were playing at home, so it wasn't difficult to drown out the noise with the fans cheering them on. But for Boston, the euphoria of the media rooting for them to win here would give them a sense of home court in their own way, resulting in a back and forth battle with neither side willing to budge, both eager to come out on top. And with everything knotted up tight late, there was no guarantee how this would turn out. Honestly, can't even believe there's a Game 7 against these 7th seeded Celtics, but here we are. Steph was clutch last jump, and can he do it again? They get the ball down low to Giannis. Jabari Smith to him. Giannis's lay. He gets met at the top with the denial. Jabari Smith Jr. now on the other end. Jalen Suggs has it. Tied basketball game. Just over 90 seconds left. Grady is defending Jalen Suggs in possibly the biggest defensive possession of his entire life. Suggs one-on-one the ISO. He likes the matchup. The spin move. He's driving it past Grady. Grady is there. Great defense. This is the worst possession I've ever seen. Denied by AD. Grady with the rebound. The Bucks now are on the other end. Steph Curry with it. The Anthony Davis pick and roll with Steph. They go down low to Giannis. Giannis again, another chance at greatness. Giannis to drive. Giannis draws the foul. Giannis does end up splitting the free throws. Unfortunately, now only a 1-point lead. The Celtics can still take the lead here if they can score, regardless of a 2 or a 3. LaMelo Ball with it. Steph Curry guarding him, the smart defender. LaMelo driving to the paint. AD tried to come with the help, but he was late. The Bucks now, for some reason, Herb Jones has the ball. They go to Giannis again. They're going to Giannis every time to step back out the post. Giannis gets the tough shot to go. And now with Boston coming up the other end, the Bucks do maintain a 1-point advantage. Grady getting screened by Robinson. Jalen Suggs is pull-up Jay. It's off 80 to rebound. The Bucks now have a chance for a potential dagger here with the basketball late in the game. About 8 seconds separating shot clock and game clock. Herb Jones again with the ball for some reason, driving to the paint. Giannis, the fadeaway. Jay, what is that? After the 2K AI made potentially the worst decision I've ever seen with Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Celtics now have no shot clock, only trailing 1, an opportunity to take the lead and win the game right here in Game 7 for a trip to the NBA Finals. Jalen Suggs has Grady on him. They're burning down the clock. They're going for the last shot. 4 seconds left. Grady, the great defense. He's all over him. Suggs, a difficult one from deep. It's off. Wow. It may have been a massive scare, but in the end, Milwaukee holds on to advance. And after defeating Boston, their most difficult tests were already behind them. By the time they were in the finals, facing the Rockets for the second consecutive year, and like they had already proved a season ago, they were easily the better team, winning back-to-back against Houston to continue their undefeated stretch in the finals for their 5th ring since making one simple trade over a decade ago. But as we reach the modern NBA, this is where our experiment ends, because we can't predict the future to see what new faces emerge in the league or what familiar faces decide to wrap up their careers. But one thing's for sure, Steph's legacy will still go down as one of the greatest ever, and as for Giannis, at only 30 years old, he may have already accomplished enough to be considered the GOAT. And as for the Bucks, they become one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history. But how about another what-if trade that could have changed the NBA forever? CP3 heading to the Lakers in 2012. Find out how that would play out by watching this video next.